You got Bobby Knuckles. You got Angry Marvin Vettori. Let's go. Number 1 versus number 2 in the middleweight division. But the unfortunate part about this, man, is like it feels like this fight is more or less meaningless, right? Think about it like this. Adesanya versus Paeta. It's already happening, right? Boom. That's already set up. So let's say Adesanya defends. Okay, well, he already beat Whittaker twice. You already beat Vettori twice. Neither of these dudes can get another shot. I'm sorry. I mean, what's the likelihood of that happening? They get another title shot again? Like, Whittaker probably has the better argument to be made because his last fight was really close, right? But what do you think?
I mean, what's the chance of either of these guys getting the slot, man? If Adesanya defends, I think slim to none. I think they're gonna be looking for new blood. Honestly, I think if Whittaker wins this fight, maybe if he loses it as well, I think he jumps up. You know, they're flirting with the idea. Everyone's talking about it, jumping up to 205. But what's the likelihood of him getting a title? That's what he wants. Very unlikely, man. And I think if he jumps up, there's at least new life and a new path ahead of him. I think it's a little more likely for him to get the shot. But even then, man, I don't see that fight selling. You see that fight on the poster. You excited? Not really.
No. And you know what? I love Bobby Knuckles, man, but I think Marvin Vettori is, out of these two, probably has a better shot of having success at 205. Like, if we're just being real about it, right? Like, Vettori has the frame to do it. Whittaker, he has the frame, but he's short, man. He's just so short. So it's just a little problematic. And I'm not trying to hate, but I'm just going to leave that for what it's worth. All right, brother. I mean, they're both 6 feet tall. You know what I'm saying? But it's just like Vettori doesn't have that striking style where the height really predicates. All he has to do is shoot him for the takedown. Anyways, man, Robert Whittaker, Marvin Vettori. It's kind of odd to see this matchup being made, specifically because Whittaker, I mean, look at who he's fought recently, man. He's been fighting basically championship fights, man. Yeah, he had a couple things here and there outside of the championship realm, but it almost feels disrespectful to a degree because a lot of people, they like Vettori here, right? And I think not for a wrong reason, but it's like Whittaker has to prove himself again. I have to show you guys how good I am. You forgot? Y'all must have forgot. Yeah, Adesanya is in here and he took over, but I was the guy, right? He's the guy. So how does he win this fight, AJ? In terms of like on the feet, you got to give it to Whittaker, man. He is levels ahead of Marvin Vettori in terms of a striker, and you can almost argue in terms of just a complete fighter. I mean, Whittaker got great wrestling. He has great takedown defense. Vettori has something a little bit different, though. And this is what I'd like to argue about Vettori, and this is why I'm ultimately going to pick Vettori. He got that dog in him, bro. He's got that, like, immigrant mentality times 10 coming from Italy, bro. Like, and he always says it. I'm getting better. I'm hungry. King's MMA. Da-da-da-da-da. Whittaker, he's still the same guy he was last year. Arguably some of the same stuff he said about Adesanya, if we're being real here. Like, the trash talk is kind of just revolving at this point. But I do think Vettori has that dog in him, and he's never out of a fight, and he never runs out of gas, man. His cardio is just incredible. When it comes down to the grappling style, it's incredible. So, I mean, if you're Robert Whittaker, should you be scared of Marvin Vettori here, or is this just a proving ground? It's just like, oh, I'm about to put on a show, baby. Let's go. What do you think?
Man, if you're not scared of Marvin Vettori, you're making a big mistake, I think, because this dude, he is there to kill. You know, that's the thing about Marvin Vettori. If you take a second off, you take just a little bit of lax, a little bit of hesitation, Marvin Vettori is going to put you on your butt and either going to pound you out or lay and pray if he's, you know, depending on the kind of night Marvin Vettori is having. But either way, this dude is very dangerous. And the scary part about him is he can take a wallop. You know, he can take a beating and keep on walking right through you. And that's demoralizing. You're hitting the dude with everything you got, you know. You're cracking him left and right, and this dude's still pissed off, walking straight forward, bloody or not. That's the kind of deal you're working with Marvin Vettori, man. And especially if Marvin Vettori is on that night, I feel like that's kind of the catalyst of what's going on here. Robert Whittaker was talking about on his pre-fight presser that the best Robert Whittaker can beat the best Marvin Vettori. But the thing that worries me is sometimes, and why I think a lot of what you were saying is true, where a lot of people kind of forgot about Robert Whittaker, and this is a proving ground fight, is that sometimes he doesn't perform to his best of abilities. So can a mediocre or the worst Robert Whittaker beat a Marvin Vettori? I don't know. That's kind of where I have a little bit of hesitation in the Robert Whittaker pick. I picked for him a couple times, and Robert Whittaker every now and then just kind of underperforms to who he used to be, to the Bobby Knuckles. Now, that being said, it seems like he's motivated and agitated enough to kind of come back to his old winning ways. That's gonna be foretold though, because it depends really if Marvin Vettori is also in there, because Marvin Vettori has that kind of a lackluster performance. I think Robert Whittaker loses the mental a little bit, and we've seen a lot of these older fighters, and older fighter shit. Robert Whittaker's my age, so the dude's not old at all, but old in the fight game, kind of somewhat lose their mental edge, lose their why, and lose the reason that they're doing this. And that's what Whittaker was talking about in that pre-fight presser, saying for a long time, I didn't know, I didn't know why I was doing this. I had to rediscover that. I have rediscovered it. So now he's back to that final form. But it's going to be interesting to see, Derek. What do you think? Do you think a mediocre or an underperforming Robert Whittaker can still beat the best Marvin Vettori possible? Or are we going to see some kind of mix up there?
I think an off night Robert Whittaker who's able to keep the fight on the feet, yes, I think he can beat Marvin Vettori. The thing that scares me is one takedown from Marvin Vettori turns into like 4.5 minutes of control time. Like when he takes you down, it's issues, man. This dude's wrestling is legit. But the other thing that kind of worries me is what if he says, I'm going to prove a point? You know what I mean? And he says, I'm going to fight him the way I fought Paulo Costa. Let's not forget, he outstruck Paulo Costa, who came in overweight by how much pounds? Like 20 pounds, something ridiculous like that, right? He came in crazy overweight. And Marvin Vettori still says, I'm just going to beat you up. And he basically did, right? So he only landed one takedown in that fight, still won very decisively. And it was a performance of the night bonus right there. So I just kind of leave that for what it's worth. I just think the technical acumen in terms of striking for Robert Whittaker is the reason why he has a minus 135 decision prop. But I also think that number is a little absurd because once again, can you open up against a fighter? This is the same situation that we saw like week after week after week. Can you open up and have a real success against a fighter who every time you open up, they're diving at your legs? You know what I mean? Like, because Robert Whittaker, for an example, what does he love to throw? He loves to throw that out of that southpaw stance, right hand, and then that right high kick right over the top. Boom. But you better be laser fast, because if not, all Marvin needs to do is crush the space. Boom. That's it. He got his arms wrapped around you, and now we're going for a ride. So when I do look at the numbers, aside from that ridiculous performance against Kevin Holland, which, Holland, it felt like he wasn't even taking it seriously. He notched 11 takedowns in that fight. Since then, 4 takedowns against Adesanya in the fight that he lost, and then only 1 takedown against Costa. Other than that, Hermanson took him down twice, right? Carl Robertson took him down twice. Cesar Fajeda took him down twice. And Cesar Fajeda is no joke, man. PFL killing the game, you know what I'm saying? So I'll just leave that for what it's worth. So Robert Whittaker, man, I do think that he should be the rightful favorite in this fight. I just think Marvin Vettori is the livest of live dogs here. The mental games, though, man, Whittaker has already seen this a million times over, right? He's seen dudes get angry with him and do all that. Do you think Vettori's going to psych? Do you think he needs it? I guess that's my question. I ask it every time he fights. Does he need it? Does he need to hype himself up? Is that why he does the antics? Is that why he does the fucking, I'm angry? You know what I mean? Is that why he's always doing that? What do you think?
I think so, man, especially because it seems like to be a common story. He starts off kind of storm brewing, and then the closer the fight gets, there's always something kind of makes angry Marvin, man. And then it's really become that kind of a moniker because he really does do the crazy, like the eyes, and he'll get excited and he'll start going. And it seems like he needs a little bit of that, or else you're going to end up in the kind of same fight where it was Marvin Vettori versus, oh man, hold on, let me pull it up real quick. The Jack Hermanson still got the win, but wasn't really that like dominant, wasn't that pissed off. It kind of started getting that way with the Kevin Holland, but then you get angry Marvin where you got a pissed off dude in Paulo Costa and you go to prove a point. And I think that's where Marvin Vettori needs to fight, needs to feel like he's there to prove a point. Get angry, get mad, bully some dude up, beat him up, and still, even though he was angry against Paulo Costa, he still got the unanimous decision. So that right there kind of worries me a little bit because if he chooses to not, I guess it makes me excited for my pick because if you anger him up enough, he's there to prove a point. He's there to have a brawl, and that's where Robert Whittaker shines. He's seeing all this stuff, and if you could take a crack from Yoel Romero, bro, you can take a punch from a lot of people, and I think including Marvin Vettori.
No, absolutely, bro. I think that, yeah, if it turns down to that, Whittaker already has the advantage. I think he kind of runs away with it at this point. It's just a matter of, man, who gets their hands on who first. I mean, who's to say? Whittaker could get the takedown on Vettori, and then we could be just all aghast, like, oh my God, I didn't see this coming. But he had 4 takedowns against Adesanya, so you know what I mean? This dude, he can wrestle, bro. That's the whole entire point I'm trying to make. Whittaker is much more well-rounded than people think, but Vettori, in terms of being a specialist, he's a goddamn good grappler, man. So for that reason, Oh man, I can't go Vettori knockout, man. You're not gonna knock out Whittaker. I could eat my words. I could be regretting this come Monday morning or the Saturday night, whatever. I got Vettori, man. I'm rolling with the upset. I like the plus 200 right there. I really like that plus 350 because in terms of outcomes, submitting Whittaker, I don't see it. Knocking him out, I don't see it. Decisioning him, a boring fight, right? Oh, that's the Marvin Vettori special right there, baby. I'm going to decision, and I'm rocking the over, which is, AJ, just so we're clear, 2.5 rounds, minus 265 for the over. Let's go, Marvin Vettori. Who you got? How you got it?
Minus 265 for
Yes,
the
sir.
over. Man, I mean, as much as I don't want to pick a minus, what is that, 135 decision win for Robert Whittaker, the odds makers are seeing it that way. All the numbers are seeing it that way. Do I think that plus 385 is something you might want to throw a little money on for the TKO? Not really. That's a hard mountain to climb right there, man. So I'm rocking the decision. Even though it's a minus score, I'm still rocking with the decision for Robert Whittaker.
All right, right on, brother. And I will say Tapology, the way, the Tapology fans have it, about 85% of the fans think that Whittaker just runs away with it. So I'll just, Tapology's not always right. I'll just say.